Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sport on YouTube, and today we are going to look at our combined starting 11 for the England squad, and of course our matches in the group stages are Panama, Tunisia and Belgium, and I must admit there's two countries there that I didn't even know had a footballing team, you could say. Panama, well done to you.
Was England one of those teams, yeah?
England's one of those teams as well, yes.
Belgium the other, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tunisia and Panama are two well-established football team nations.
Exactly. I mean, Panama are so good in the CONCACAF Gold Cup. They play very well. But anyway, we have asked Joe, Andrew, and Conor to pick their starting 11 for England. Of course, there's been debates about who Gareth Southgate has picked. We obviously, a lot of us here are quite happy to pick the players that are on form this season. And this is where we start off. Joe Stanley, it's your go first. Who have you gone for and why?
Traditionally, I think Southgate will actually go for the three at the back like he's done in the qualifiers with the wing backs. But I personally am not a massive fan of that, so I've gone for something different. That makes sense.
Okay, yep, go ahead.
Butland in goal, which is an interesting choice. Pickford.
Would you have said Pickford would be your second keeper then?
Yeah, I think Pickford would probably be Southgate's choice, but I go for Butland because he's got the highest save percentage, and obviously England could be peppered with shots this tournament. I've gone for Walker, Cahill, Maguire and Rose. Cahill for the experience at the back, with Maguire because of the height, and obviously Walker and Rose pick themselves on the full backs. Henderson and Dyer, Henderson captaining, Sterling, Ali, Lingard and Kane.
I quite like Maguire. I must admit, well, even though he sneaked one past United before Christmas, that was rather annoying on the last minute.
All the more reason to love him.
You would say that, but he's actually come out of nowhere, hasn't he? For Leicester. Of course, Leicester are a team that are quite highly prolific now for winning the Premier League 2 years ago, but he's been quite strong for them this season.
Yeah, he was at Hull season before, and it wasn't too bad there. He's gone to Leicester, linked with a move to Man City in January, but he's stuck with Leicester for first team football, and he's performed well this season. He's been one of their star players.
Andrew?
Harry Maguire is a staple of my team. I think he's up there as one of the best centre halves this season. I think in the Premier League for me, just in terms of being comfortable on the ball. And I'm going to go over 3-5-2 as such with wing backs. And key to that is you have a stepping out ball playing centre half, and Harry Maguire will be that. In goal, I'm going to go Nick Pope. Just based on, I think Pickford will get the nod. I agree, and you could say he's probably the better goalkeeper out of the bunch that they've got, but I think Nick Pope, just in terms of, we look at the stats for Burnley with the clean sheets they've had this season, and it's not like they've been dull clean sheets where he's had nothing to do. He's had to work to keep his team in games at times. So I think just if you're going on form, Southgate's going on about form, you go with Nick Pope. It's centre half, so I'd have Maguire. I would have Kyle Walker tucking in as a third centre half on the right, and I think I'd go with Eric Dyer as another centre half.
You weren't so sure though, were you?
No, on this I had a 4 at the back, and it was Phil Jones was getting it. In fact, there's only one player with a question mark, and that is Phil Jones. Yeah. So yeah, he drops out, and Dyer drops into a centre half, and Maguire and Walker. Ashley Young on the left wing back. Just because I think this season, what we talked about it earlier, in terms of the left back options or left sided options, there isn't really anything else. Danny Rose you can't pick somebody who's not been getting a game. Luke Shaw, the same applies. Brian Bertrand's done okay, but not the heights of the last few seasons. I think Ashley Young is the best left-sided player that's been in the country in terms of eligible for England, playing at left back. So I'm going to put him as a left wing back. Bring in Kieran Trippier as well on the right, because I think he's been absolutely brilliant for Spurs. And he started the majority of games. They've tried Sergio Aurier at times, and he's a little bit of a liability, just like a red card, yellow card, walking or ready to give away a penalty and needless fouls. So I'm glad that Trippier's getting had a bit more of a look in this season at Spurs. So he'd be on the right. Then middle of the park, I would have Jordan Henderson and Dele Alli. Jordan Henderson just by default, because there is nobody else really, sadly. If you're an England fan, sadly, as a slightly cynical bit of Welshman, I'm quite happy to see Jordan Henderson starting for England, because I think he will captain the team. And then I'd have Raheem Sterling as a number 10 behind Harry Kane and Marcus Rashford. I know Rashford's had an awful cup final. I just think he seems to step up with England. I don't know whether it's something that Jose's doing, or the fact that he doesn't get a run of games consistently with United. But when he plays for England, he seems to just spark back to basically go back to what brought him to the dance. When he first broke onto the scene and he was this hot young thing in world football, he seems to do that when he plays for England. So 3-5-2, that's my team.
Conor Porter.
Hello, Jamie.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Are you still breathing?
Yeah, just about.
That's all right.
Just about checking the pulse and all that. I've started off with a different goalkeeper, surprisingly. Pickford. Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it? The goalkeepers is the one field we've got.
It probably will be the toughest selection that Gareth Southgate has to make at the World Cup, because you can make a case for every single three of the goalkeepers that they've got. Pope obviously had a fantastic season at Burnley. Butland has been an all-round good goalkeeper over the past couple of years at Stoke, and then Pickford, they questioned him at Sunderland whether or not he'd be able to do the job at a bigger club, because he was the best player at Sunderland in their relegation season. But going to Everton, he's proved it on another level that despite the poor defence in front of him, he can be that shot stopper that England needs. So I think I'm going to go for Pickford in goal for me. And I'm going to keep on to what Southgate has been doing recently in the friendlies, is to have the three at the back, Maguire, Stones and Walker. Walker in that kind of right centre-back kind of role. He seems to be fitting in that well for the England squad over the past two friendlies, so he's going to go in there for me. And Stones and Maguire, I think there's enough experience in there. You don't really need to put in someone like Cahill. Even though he is selected, I don't think you need to take him in. I think that's a pretty solid defence there, especially with how Maguire's been playing for Leicester City this season. Moving on to the wing-back formation, and Young and Trippier, bouncing off what Andrew said about Young and Trippier, arguably the two best wing-backs in England football at the moment.
Joe Stanley would agree.
Well, you can make a case for Trent Alexander-Arnold, but that's a wait and see. Potentially, by Euro 2020, you could have a big argument as to whether or not Alexander-Arnold should be starting ahead of Trippier in that kind of wing-back position if they continue in this formation. But that's just a different story for another day. And Young, good position play at United, filling into that left-back spot when he was needed the most. And he's done well there, so he deserves to get that starting spot there, despite his age. Midfield, Dyer, Henderson and Sterling. It's a bit an interesting one, really. You've got Dyer sitting in the defensive deep position, and then you've got Henderson and Sterling. Arguably, you could push Henderson back into that defensive midfield position and bring in Dele Alli to help support Kane, because he's going to be starting anyway. But Sterling has to be in for me because, despite the criticism that he gets from City, he's been a great player.
I think he's been very good.
He's great for Guardiola this season.
He's been a different player this year, actually.
He has, yeah. And I think he deserves to start in some sort of way. And because of how fluid the City team is, you know that you can pretty much start him anywhere in that kind of attacking midfield position. And he's going to be constantly implementing and changing and things like that. So if it was to go like this and to have Dyer in that kind of defensive position, then maybe I would push Henderson back and then bring in Dele Alli. But I think Henderson as well could still do that kind of role because he is a good passer of the ball, despite the fact that he not pass as often forward as he wants to sometimes.
But only 10-yard passes.
But no, 10-yard passing left and right and backwards, but not forwards most of the times. But he's still an accurate passer. He's probably the most accurate passer in that England squad, and I think you need someone like that in the midfield, especially if you've got Sterling and Dyer, who aren't the greatest of passers sometimes. No. But yeah, Henderson will certainly be a good, solid connecting passer for this England squad moving forward. And actually, in case of forwards, a lot of you guys, I think both of you went for just Kane up top on his own. I've gone for Kane and Vardy, and the reason being is because of how many goals he scored in the Premier League this season. Vardy 20 goals, Harry Kane 30 goals, 50 goals altogether. You don't really want to leave 20 goals on the bench in Vardy, do you?
No,
Bring him onto the pitch. Just let's see how this works. Let's see how this works against Nigeria and against Costa Rica, because if it works against those guys, then there's a good chance that it'll work against Panama and Tunisia in the group stages. Potentially Belgium may have an answer to that question, but I think if we can get some sort of chemistry going between those two guys, especially in these next 4 games, it could be tough to stop.
And
for
interesting
anything.
as well, because we played Panama and Tunisia before Belgium, so that could help them get that combination.
Exactly. So that's why I really hope that they go with this, with Vardy and Kane. It is a worrying factor, though, that because you do have those two prolific strikers, in a sense that they always want to have the football, that they're not going to be looking for each other on the field. And when it comes to entering that final third, looking towards taking a shot on goal, they're not going to look for, Kane's not going to look for Vardy, and Vardy's not going to look for Kane, for vice versa. They're going to go for a shot on goal, and it may be taking away the best opportunity that England has. That's the only concern with it, and that's why people may be more lenient to start just Kane and leave Vardy on the bench. But I think let's try it out and let's see how it goes.
I think going with 2 up front as well, a lot of teams these days, they've a lot of players who have all they've known really in terms of modern football. A lot of defenders, they're used to just playing against one striker, one up front. It's like you've got Kane and Vardy, I've got Kane with Rashford. If you've got two strikers there, that sometimes bamboozles the defenders a little bit because it's ingrained in them that teams only play one up front now as an out-and-out striker, so they're not used to that. Which then that could free up someone coming on from midfield like Raheem Sterling or Dele Alli or.
Arguably as well, with the Rashford case, it might be a better situation than having Vardy because Rashford is more of a passer of the ball than what Vardy is. Vardy is more of a bang it over the top. He's got the pace, last man, target man, hit him on the defence, hit him on the break, and get him on one-on-one with the goalkeeper. He's not going to really drop back into midfield. Kane may do that job, but then you're taking away England's best goal scorer from the best goal scoring opportunities, and you don't really want to do that. So you may be more lenient to do with what Andrew's doing with Rashford. But also you've got the same situation with Sterling, of how they've worked it with City this season, how he's been able to drop in from the left-hand side or the right-hand side to take the opportunities on a goal, and then also provide the chances for Sergio Aguero, and hopefully he can bring that into the England squad.
It's funny. Overall, though, it's quite scary looking at these squads and think there's no real depth there, is there? This makes me realise, group stages, but after that, it could go anywhere. Because I look at those squads as well, and come extra time or penalty shootouts, if we were to go that far in the knockout stages, just don't have the backup, do we?
No. I just one slight thing there as well. I think with Ashley Young, one of the key things with him, and again, it does almost go on to the lack of depth. Is you look at that team and who's on your set pieces, who's taking your corners, who's taking your free kicks. You've got Harry Kane again,
that again.
Yeah, I think Ashley Young gave fairness.
Not Rashford either. He was terrible in the FA Cup.
I don't understand why he does that anyway.
So you've got Ashley Young puts a good ball in when he was at Watford, when he was at Villa, when he's at Man United, whether that's on a dead ball or just in open play. But other than that, you're thinking, if Ashley Young wasn't there, who'd be on? Would John Henderson be taking corners? Would Marcus Rashford be taking them? Would Kieran Trippier be taking them? Harry Kane? I think
Pickford?
That's it. Is.
Goalkeepers might have to take it.
All in all, there's a bit of a shocking lack in depth when you look at it. Like before you wrote this down, I'm thinking there's no way I'm going to put John Henderson in my team. And then you look at it and thinking there really isn't that much of an alternative. And John Henderson's he's okay, but if you want to be competing at the top level, you can't. I'm saying that Liverpool are going to a Champions League final on Saturday, but if you want to be competing at the top level, you can't really internationally have John Henderson in the engine room in midfield. But by default, you do. And say Sterling's out of the team. If something happened to Sterling or he got injured, suspended for one of the games, where's that spark of attacking energy coming from? You've got Rashford, but he's admittedly hot and cold a little bit. Sterling's been on fire this season, as you've been saying. There's a lack of options. We were talking before about how Jermaine Defoe wasn't really that far away from the squad a few months ago, or something like Daniel Sturridge when he got his loan move to West Brom wasn't that far away from the squad. And you're thinking that's the backup options really that you're looking at. If you took Kane out of the equation or if Vardy didn't get a game, it's entertaining to watch unravel. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say.
Joe, any final thoughts?
It's not ideal, is it? Let's be honest.
No, you put the last nail on the head there.
You had the golden generation, didn't you? 10 years ago or so? From 2004 to 2010.
We had won the Euros in 2004.
Yeah, Gerrard, Lampard, Beckham, Scholes,
should have won the Euros in '96. I was watching that. That was the time as well.
Should have been in the World Cup final in Turin.
Yeah.
And then you got this lot where you've got. You just look at it. You got gone for Gerrard and Lampard, Henderson and Dyer. Doesn't really thrill you, does it?
No. But they're there to prove a point.
Yeah. Maybe the lack of pressure, because nobody expects England to do well, might come to England's favour, but you just don't know, do you?
By the way, you just said Turin 1990. You weren't even born then. How could you cry?
I watch it on the documentaries and it hurts me. I don't like to see grown men cry, and when Gascoigne cried, I've shed a tear with him.
I was around watching that live. That's how old I am. Yeah.
Can I raise it a point though? Arguably, you want someone to get injured in the squad, so then Lallana can come in because he is that kind of guy that you want in that midfield that can arguably stretch the play out a little bit more. And he can fill that role in terms of corners, bringing the ball into the area. You're not losing a key goal-scoring threat like Kane taking the corner or Rashford or whatnot. So bringing in Lallana into that squad would be changing. And Gareth Southgate is trying to do that, but obviously because of the injury problems, he can't put him into the full squad.
Yeah, he's hardly had a game all season. That's the only problem. I think because in fairness to him, you look at last season, Lallana was he kind of morphed into one of England's key players. Like you say, he stretches the game well, he can find the man really well, and he's got a knack of popping up in the box for goals. But now you look at it, and he's had a handful of games all season with his injury problems. I don't know. I think it might be a bit too much too soon, especially if you're going on form. But then you look at form, and you look at some of the players in here, and you're thinking
they're not exactly.
No, they're not.
I think the big player that's going to be a big miss is Oxlade-Chamberlain for England.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest him, and maybe we should have had Wilshere in the squad now. I'm thinking about it, but as you say, Chamberlain's injured.
Out till New Year.
Yeah, out to the New Year as well.
ACL, MCL, and torn hamstring off the bone.
Oh my goodness, that's really bad. I wouldn't like to be the doctor for that one. Anyway, Gareth Southgate has chosen form over names, and for you, Gareth Southgate, if you haven't picked a squad yet, these three men here have helped you out, hopefully. Would you pick one of them? What do you think, viewers? Comment your starting 11 on the comments below, and hey, we might have a look at it next week and see what we think. But anyway, thank you for watching, and subscribe to Let's Talk Sport.